Formations is an exhibition that cuts through architecture in a different way. We're looking at the way in which practices organise themselves, and through different organisational models of working in architecture, what is possible then for architects to do that is different to the normal way of being an architect. The exhibition includes 6 practices from Australia. The practices range across digital manufacturing, which is behind us, an international curatorial team for the Maribor project, a health habitat project, which is about humanitarian aid and the healthy environment. We have an artist-architect, Richard Goodwin, which is represented by this model here, and a zip line which goes across the canal and involves a water taxi moving around Venice. And we have another group, 2 groups, one out in the arena in front of the pavilion, Arena Calcetto, which is a foosball table with an installation there to bring people together in architecture to play outside of the normal rivalries of practice. And the final team is a radio show. So architecture media is 4 architects who practice architecture normally during the week, and then find themselves on the radio once a week to do a very well received local radio show in Melbourne in Australia.
One important question here in formations was trying to look at ways that architecture can have greater agency. What we mean by that is maybe greater effect than just doing small building projects or medium building projects, or actually even large building projects. Because these projects are, we would say, much bigger than that. What that means is everyone here feels some sort of responsibility to society to actually make an improvement and to use their skills and their training to make an improvement. And so in that sense, the ego of the architects here is actually directed to actually making something for society. So we have, for example, people like Richard Goodwin, who is very interested in the closing down of public space and the ownership of public space becoming private and trying to open that up again. We also have people like Paul Falleros in Health Habitat, where they use their skills to work in Indigenous communities in Australia, actually very pragmatic and very precise, fixing houses. And by fixing houses, they actually reduce visits to hospital in these very poor communities by 40%. So it's literally almost more effective than penicillin. And so they are 2 dramatic examples, but we would say every one of the 6 teams here has felt a responsibility to practice differently because they want to have a very, very positive effect on society in the most maximum way they can. The way formations then relates to common ground is quite interesting because in Australia the selection process starts in June last year, well before the curators selected for the Biennale. But at that time we had been working together on the idea of new formations of practice, and you could say a common ground of different people coming together. So our submission formations was based on what we saw as a big international tendency to ask these questions. And there's a series of people, Alejandro Zerpolo, Jeremy Till and others that have written and talked about this idea. So when Chipperfield was announced as a curator and the position was common ground, for us it was perfect because we would say common ground could be another title almost for this exhibition.